And the young American with more than 50 million YouTube subscribers has just wrapped up. Dreamer is also getting a Ghanaian passport.
In a moment that has electrified social media, reshaped global narratives, and ignited conversations from Accra to Los Angeles, the Republic of Ghana has officially granted international internet sensation IShowSpeed Ghanaian citizenship. What began as a 28-day continent-wide livestream journey has culminated in a historic act of cultural recognition, as one of the world's most followed creators is welcomed not as a visitor, but as a son of the continent. Today, Ghana did more than bestow a passport. It rewrote a story that has long been dictated by outsiders and invited the world to see Africa through a new lens. In granting him citizenship, Ghana is not merely acknowledging ties of heritage. It is making a bold statement about identity, belonging, and the power of representation in an era defined by digital influence. For millions watching around the globe, this is more than headlines. It is a seismic moment that challenges how Africa has been portrayed for generations and celebrates a young man whose journey across the continent has shattered stereotypes in real time. This is not just news, this is history in motion. And it begins here.
Tour's been amazing, bro. On every end, bro. I'm so glad I went to Africa, chat. I'm so glad that I decided to come here and experience it for myself. To be honest, chat, this tour changed my life, bro.
From the moment the camera turns on, the world already thinks it knows what Africa looks like. For decades, Africa has been introduced to global audiences through a single repeated lens. A lens of hunger, a lens of conflict, a lens of despair. News headlines, documentaries, charity ads, and Hollywood stories have trained viewers to associate the continent with crisis before culture, suffering before strength. For many people growing up in the West, Africa is not imagined as a living, breathing place filled with ambition and joy, but as a distant tragedy frozen in time. That narrative has been so powerful that even people of African descent, living thousands of miles away, have grown up doubting their own connection to the continent. So what happens when one of the world's biggest internet stars, a young man whose life has unfolded live on screens, finally steps onto African soil with his camera rolling and his mind wide open? What happens when expectations collide with reality in real time, in front of millions?
Wait, chat, this is a real robot.
Happy birthday to you, Speed.
Chat, this is the first Nigerian robot.
This is not a scripted travel show. This is not a carefully edited tourism commercial. This is the story of IShowSpeed, one of the most watched streamers on the planet, and a 28-day journey across Africa that quietly did something extraordinary. It forced the world to look again, and in doing so, it exposed how wrong the old story had always been.
It's beautiful. It's the biggest in Africa.
That's crazy.
And the top 10
Wait,
in the world.
that's the biggest dam?
In Africa. Yes.
The announcement that sent shockwaves across Africa and the global black diaspora came at the end of that journey. Guyana, a nation already known for opening its doors to the African diaspora, revealed that it would grant IShowSpeed a Ghanaian passport. A symbolic gesture, yes, but also a deeply political and cultural statement. It was not just about paperwork, it was about belonging, recognition, and narrative power. But to understand why this moment mattered, you have to understand where the journey began. IShowSpeed did not come to Africa as an expert. He did not arrive pretending to understand its history or complexity. He came as himself, loud, curious, chaotic, emotional, unfiltered. During a live stream in Accra, he revealed something deeply personal. Through his mother's side, he had Ghanaian roots.
My mother's actually Ghanaian. My mom's side.
Yet growing up, he had also been told by his own father that he was not African at all.
African. No, you're not. You're an
It's like,
American.
yo,
You're an American.
but we from Africa.
Who from Africa?
It is a sentence that echoes far beyond one household. Across the diaspora, countless young people have heard similar messages, subtle or direct, that Africa is distant, irrelevant, or something to be disconnected from rather than embraced. Instead of accepting that story, Speed did the opposite. He boarded a plane and came anyway. Almost immediately, the reality in front of him began to clash with everything he thought he knew. City after city, country after country, his reactions told a story words could not. The roads were wide and busy, the skylines modern, the internet fast, the energy electric. Crowds gathered not out of curiosity but out of joy. This was not the Africa of donation commercials or disaster headlines. This was Africa alive, loud, confident, and moving forward. Over 28 days, the Speed Does Africa tour cut across the continent like a cultural lightning bolt.
So I'm in actually Ethiopia right now. This is crazy. I didn't even know y'all had this. That's insane.
From Nigeria to South Africa, from Morocco to Ivory Coast, from Zambia to Angola, Speed streamed almost everything. He celebrated his 21st birthday in Lagos, surrounded by thousands of fans.
You doing it?
He danced Amapiano in South Africa with an energy that blurred the line between visitor and local. He raced a cheetah, drifted supercars, and played high-intensity street football with kids who matched his passion step for step.
My ball.
In Zambia, he walked beside lions and swam at Devil's Pool on the edge of Victoria Falls, confronting fear and beauty at the same time. In Ivory Coast, he was crowned king in a traditional ceremony, learned the Zaoli dance, tasted cocoa fruit straight from the source, and ate fufu with the same enthusiasm he brings to everything. Everywhere he went, he learned dances, shared meals, laughed, panicked, screamed, celebrated, and connected. What made this tour different was not just where he went, but how the world saw it. This was not a polished documentary filtered through Western editing rooms. It was raw, live, and impossible to manipulate. Viewers saw Africa in real time. They saw traffic jams, modern cars, packed stadiums, skyscrapers, nightlife, jokes, music, and ordinary life unfolding naturally. The old images of famine and despair were replaced with movement, pride, and laughter. For millions watching, it felt like propaganda was being dismantled live on air. How do you argue with what people are seeing with their own eyes? Perhaps the most powerful moment of the tour was not a stunt or a spectacle, but the connection between Speed and African communities. Everywhere he went, the reception was overwhelming. He was welcomed with music, dancing, chants, and genuine affection. There was no hostility, no distance, no coldness. Instead, there was a sense of familiarity, of shared roots, of recognition. It quietly dismantled another long-standing myth, that Africans and Black Americans are fundamentally divided. What played out on screen was not division, it was family energy. And nowhere was that more powerful than in Ghana. Ghana was not just another stop on the tour, it was symbolic, ancestral, emotional. It was the place where history, identity, and the present moment collided. During his time there, Speed did not simply pass through. He immersed himself. He visited iconic locations, traveled through the eastern region, stood before waterfalls, and took part in spiritual experiences that carried deep cultural meaning. He wore kente cloth, not as a costume, but as a symbol.
Now go back so we can take a picture. Go back.
He participated in a traditional naming ceremony and was given the name Barama Kofi Akufo.
Chad, I'm officially Barama Kofi Akufu.
A moment that visibly moved him. He trained at Bukom Arena, a place that has produced champions through discipline and struggle. He ate Ghanaian jollof with excitement that felt genuine. He drifted supercars, took helicopter tours, performed his famous backflip in public spaces, and engaged with everyday people who treated him not as an outsider, but as someone returning home. The most striking part was how he was received by chiefs and communities. This was not celebrity worship, it was recognition. Ghana did not just see a streamer, it saw a young man of the diaspora reconnecting with the land his ancestors were taken from. It was after this that Ghana's foreign minister, Samuel Ablakwa, announced that the government had approved the issuance of a Ghanaian passport to IShowSpeed. He described Speed's ties to Ghana as irrefutable and framed the decision as part of Ghana's commitment to embracing members of the global African family who positively represent the nation on the world stage. On the surface, the question was simple. Why grant a passport to a 21-year-old YouTuber? The deeper answer lies in storytelling and soft power. In a world driven by perception, visibility is power. Speed's tour did what traditional tourism campaigns struggle to achieve. Tens of millions of people saw Ghana and Africa more broadly through an unfiltered lens. Not through Western newsrooms, not through crisis narratives, but through the eyes of someone discovering it in real time. By embracing Speed, Ghana was not just honoring heritage, it was investing in narrative control, global visibility, and cultural influence. Beyond Ghana, the tour forced a broader reckoning. For decades, Western media has reduced Africa to a single story, ignoring its diversity, history, and contributions to human civilization. Africa, the birthplace of mathematics, astronomy, medicine, architecture, spirituality, and art, has been framed as if it exists outside of progress. This distortion did not happen by accident. Negative stories sell. Suffering images create emotional reactions, and over time those images harden into belief. Speed's streams quietly shattered that belief. Viewers saw cities that did not fit the story they were told. They saw joy where they expected despair, confidence where they expected need, complexity where they expected simplicity. For many it was uncomfortable, for others it was liberating, but for almost everyone it was impossible to ignore. In the end, this journey was about more than entertainment. It was about correction. A young man once told he was not African came to the continent anyway. He arrived curious, he left transformed. And now, with Ghana offering him a passport, the story comes full circle. It raises a powerful question. Who gets to define Africa? And what happens when Africans, both on the continent and in the diaspora, take that power back? Seeing Africa through African eyes does not erase hardship. It restores balance, it restores dignity, and it reminds the world that Africa has never been what it was reduced to. This story is still unfolding, and perhaps that is its greatest impact of all.